What's up, bodyweight warriors, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to take a little bit of a trip back to the bro days, the weightlifting days, the strength days of the BCAs, the Gymshark, all of that sort of good stuff. And I want to talk to you about extended sets, and more specifically their application in bodyweight training. When we're talking about extended sets, we often think of things like maybe drop sets, running the rack, that sort of thing, and it's kind of more attributed to bodybuilding. And there is some benefit there, but it can be an effective method for both strength and size when applied correctly. From a hypertrophy or muscle building perspective, actually the evidence suggests that, drop sets versus normal straight sets, there isn't actually much of a benefit when volume is equated. And that kind of ignores the benefit of potentially using drop sets, which is increasing the amount of volume you can do in the time period you have. So rather than doing a couple of extra sets, we can just add in some extended sets and we're gonna get the same benefit for less time. From a strength perspective, that increase in volume is also going to help, but it also means that we can work more volume at a higher intensity, recruiting more motor units and also maintaining a higher quality of work. With bodyweight training, making incremental adjustments is pretty hard. It's not as simple as going to the gym and just using those micro plates. In fact, you could think of it more akin to going to the gym and all they had available to you was one type of plate, say for example, a 10 kilo plate. This wouldn't be an example for a certain rep range, but as soon as you wanted to increase the weight, you're suddenly gonna go from, say for example, a 10 reps of something to maybe 3 reps of something because there's no in between. This is kind of akin to the difference between a pike push-up and a handstand push-up in bodyweight training. The jump is pretty big. So extended methods either help us to bridge this gap or they help us to increase the volume in movements that we can't quite get enough reps and sets in. So today I'm gonna share with you two options. One is gonna be more focused about strength and the other one's gonna be more focused about size, but ultimately there's gonna be some crossover between the two. I just wanna mention that really these methods are kind of more for your advanced or intermediate lifters, people who have had some form of training experience. Ultimately, if you're a beginner, you're best off just doing straight sets, normal sort of resistance training, normal rep ranges, and being consistent with it long term. That being said, these sort of methods are quite fun to play around with, and having fun in your training is a good reason as anything to actually do something. First up, we have cluster sets. Cluster sets are actually one of my favorite methods when it comes to that high-end strength moves in bodyweight training. This method can be used for hypertrophy, but realistically, it's more towards the strength and power end of the spectrum. So it's gonna be best suited to low reps. Think kind of 2 to maybe 5, maybe 7 reps. Cluster sets involve basically splitting up our sets into clusters and then taking short rest periods between these. This isn't necessarily about pushing through failure. This one is about allowing you to work at higher intensity for more reps by taking those short breaks in between, and also then performing those reps at a more fresh and recovered capacity. Otherwise, naturally, if we're just doing a normal set of traditional reps, our performance is going to taper off as we get towards the end of that set and as we fatigue, whereas cluster sets help us to maintain that performance. This one's probably easier if I just provide you with an example. Let's say we're working on the handstand push-up and we can perform a couple of reps already, but the ultimate goal is to get to 5 reps. We need to work on here building up volume and also then strength endurance with this particular move. So one way in which we could do this is by doing 6 to 8 sets of 2 reps. This is just a straight set option, and then ultimately towards the end of those 6 to 8 sets, we're probably only going to be able to do 1 to 2 reps. We're not necessarily going to be able to do the 2 the entire way through. If we were then to apply cluster sets with this, we actually could split these down into singles, and we could take those 2 reps to maybe 3 or 4 reps per set. So instead of performing that 6 to 8 sets of 2 reps, we could perform just 5 sets of 3 to 4 reps. We're gonna get the same amount of training volume, maybe a little bit more, and we're also gonna be able to maintain the work in that set a little bit better. We'd go up onto the wall, we'd do a rep, we'd come down, we'd rest for about 20 seconds, we'd go up, we'd do another one, we'd rinse, repeat until we get to those 3 or 4 reps. This keeps the quality of movement higher because we're not fatigued as we get to each rep, although there will be a little bit of fatigue as we go, and it gets the speed of the movement, the velocity of the movement stays high as well. It's gonna be good for developing strength and power. Now this is just one example of doing cluster sets. Ultimately it can be broken up into many different ways. A couple of my personal favorite examples are, firstly we have the traditional 5x5, and in this instance we could do 5x5 clusters. So we would split up that 5 reps into 5 singles, again, resting that 10 to 20 seconds between, but we do it with an intensity of movement that we can perform for 3 reps. So again, this works in that handstand push-up scenario. If we can only do 3 reps, we can do 5 singles in a cluster set. Another option at a little bit higher rep range, we could do 6 rep sets and we can perform them in 3 doubles. So 2 reps, rest, 2 reps, rest, 2 reps. Nice and simple. As I said, I'm a big fan of using clusters. It works really nicely when you're trying to increase numbers, but you can only get 1 to 2, maybe 3 reps in a particular movement, such as the handstand push-up, such as maybe the one arm chin up, etc. So that's the strength side of things. Next up, we have a little bit more of a hypertrophy focus. And for this one, we're going to use a rest pause method. Now, this is essentially the same premise as the cluster method, but the focus is slightly different. So whereas with the cluster method, we're looking at maintaining the quality of work so we can do more work at higher intensity and build more volume. We're not really straying too close to failure. However, with rest pause sets, the goal is to be able to push past failure and extend that set. So rather than having that predetermined splitting up of the set, we kind of just will do the set until failure, we rest, we do more until failure, we rest, and we do that until we complete the rep range that we're given. Again, maybe an example is easier here. So let's say our goal, our set is going to be to do 8 to 10 chin-ups. We do our first one and we reach failure at 5 reps. We come down, we rest 10 to 20 seconds, we then jump back up, we perform another 3 reps. That's our 8 in total. Technically we could stop here, but if we wanted to push this a little bit further, we can come down, we can rest again for 10 to 20 seconds, and maybe perform another 1 or 2 reps. And that's for our total set. We've taken a few pauses, but we've managed to extend what we can only do for 5 reps up to that 9 or 10 rep mark. For obvious reasons, this is pretty intense because we're going to pass the point of failure. So we're going to see quite a large drop off in performance during these sets in comparison to the cluster sets, which is almost just more of a replacement for normal training. So because of this reasons, it's going to be more intense to train like this. You wouldn't want to use rest pause extended sets on every single set you do. In fact, you probably only want to really use it on maybe a couple of exercises in a session, and you'd probably still then only do it on maybe the last set of that exercise. I would consider it more of a finishing set as opposed to something that you would do every single set that way. If you were to do it as every single set, you'd probably only perform 2 to 3 sets of it because it's intense and because ultimately you're getting more volume there anyway. But that's basically it. I would encourage you guys to just go away, have a go of it, see how it works out. I think the second option, the rest pause sets, is probably the easiest to add in initially. Very simply, you choose your last set of whatever movement it is, you rep out to failure, you rest, you do a few more, you rest, you do a few more, you try to extend that set by maybe 6 to 8 repetitions or something. It's going to take you maybe another minute or so of actual training, but you're going to get quite a lot of volume added into your session. It's just another tool that you can play with. That's just my opinion on this. I'd love to hear what you do. Is there a way that you like to incorporate extended sets into your training? Have you used these methods before? As I said, they're both powerful, but there's plenty of other options out there to give a go as well. If you just enjoyed this video, you can also hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. Right next to it is that subscribe button if you want to join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe. Don't miss out any more future videos. But that's basically been it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and peace.